Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the hearing for 4 former industrial players accused of assault now reset. And the immigration-related battle heats up in Texas following a new state law, how this impacts migrant communities this evening. And a crime family is facing charges in a scheming operation.
Well, we're getting close to the big weekend, holiday Christmas weekend, and the clouds are just going to be getting thicker and thicker. So the chances for rain are going to be pretty strong as we get into the weekend. And we'll talk all about that and plan out your whole weekend coming up in a minute.
And we got some hoops and some scores. I'll have that in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Garcia. Don Brubaker has the night off. 4 former industrial ISD students were in the Jackson County Courthouse for a hearing this morning. However, the hearing was reset once again. 25 News Now reporter Adarius McCormick has followed the legal proceedings since July. He joins us in the studio now. Now, Adarius, any word on when they will reschedule?
Yes, the court hearing has been reset for March 7th, 2024. This marks the second reset since the 14's initial appearance in court just months ago. Christopher McRory, Cullen Stonefall, Braxton Warren, and Zach Kukler were arrested and charged with engaging in organized criminal assault. One student was allegedly assaulted by these 4 on a bus coming from an away game in April. According to Industrial ISD, coaches immediately discussed this incident with administration. However, the victim's family was very unhappy with the district's response.
There has been zero accountability, not from a coach, not from an administrator, and I think the $64,000 question is, who ultimately decided on the punishment?
Share how the student was assaulted or what exactly happened on the bus. Yet the defense attorney Brent Dornberg said the incident was just a little horseplay. The victim's family says otherwise. We reached out to both attorneys about the second reset. We did not hear back from either, but we plan to continue coverage in the future. Back to you, Karina.
Adarius, thank you. Governor Greg Abbott is taking aim at migrants with a new law that would allow police to arrest people they suspect entered the U.S. illegally. Now Mexico's president and the ACLU are fighting back.
The ACLU and the state of Texas likely heading to court over the situation at the border with Mexico. On Monday, Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott signing a new law known as SB 4, which allows for local and state law enforcement in Texas to arrest and deport people they suspect crossed into the U.S. illegally. It carries a punishment of up to 6 months in jail, and repeat offenders could face up to 20 years in prison, and it gives judges the ability to deport them back to Mexico. The new law has exceptions at places of worship, schools, and healthcare facilities. Abbott blasting the president, saying Texas needs to defend itself from drug cartels, accusing Biden of deliberate inaction. Biden says the federal government, not individual states, is charged with determining how and when to remove non-citizens for violating immigration laws. The ACLU and the Texas Civil Rights Project filing a lawsuit against SB 4, claiming the new law violates the Constitution.
It will impact our communities. It will impact our community safety. It will separate families. And that is just a reality that we cannot abide by. The state of Texas cannot impose its own policy preferences.
The Mexican government also taking steps to challenge this. Mexico's president Andrés Manuel López Obrador calling the law inhumane and politics related.
There are still questions as to how exactly SB 4 will be implemented, but it is set to go into effect in March. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The new law is set to take effect March of next year, specifically March 5th. Supporters say the state has the right to take action to protect its border, while critics say the federal government, not states, can pass immigration law. They say this will also increase racial profiling. Meanwhile, the federal government has closed some border crossings with Mexico recently, including railways, many people saying this is having tremendous economic consequences.
Truly, this is something that, it causes, catastrophic impacts across our entire economy when you look at the ripple effects that it causes to consumer prices.
Andrea Hutchins, the president and CEO of the El Paso Chamber of Commerce, says a suspension of railway operations in El Paso and Eagle Pass will have a much larger effect beyond border communities.
As one of our nation's leading ports of entry for goods and services, the impact of a rail closure is going to not only impact local businesses here in El Paso, but also the supply chains that El Paso businesses help to connect to.
On Sunday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced railway operations would be suspended beginning Monday at 8 a.m. in El Paso and in Eagle Pass due to the increase of migrant arrivals and agents being redirected to process the migrants. The federal agency statement read in part, after observing a recent resurgence of smuggling organizations moving migrants through Mexico via freight trains, CBP is taking additional actions to surge personnel and address this concerning development, including in partnership with Mexican authorities. John Barella, president and CEO of the Borderplex Alliance, expressed frustration at international commerce being impacted yet again due to the lack of immigration reform on a federal level.
We've been through this before, and once again, international commerce is being affected, jobs are being affected, and hundreds of millions of dollars are being lost because of federal inactivity on this crucial subject.
Barella adds, studies indicate that for every delay of commerce between the U.S. and Mexico, American businesses lose $1 million per minute.
These types of delays do not help our inflationary pressures that are currently existing, because when you have cracks in the supply chain, that leads to increased costs of critical commodities like food and grain type shipments, steel and automotive parts and automobiles. That's what's being effective now.
The Borderplex Alliance says the closure is already being felt in 6 Midwestern states. Razor wire along the U.S.-Mexico border will stay in place for now. A U.S. appeals court today temporarily blocked the Biden administration from destroying the wire installed by the state to stop illegal crossings. This decision now puts a stay in place while Texas waits on the outcome of its appeal. Customs and Border Protection wanted the wire removed, arguing it posed a humanitarian and national security risk by forcing agents to deal with medical needs caused by the wire. But Texas insisted its property rights would be violated if the wire was removed. And now let's take a quick pause on the news and look at the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez.
Thank you very much, Karina. Tonight we're going to get down to the mid-50s. Tomorrow, again, we'll be in the upper mid-70s. So these temperatures are not exactly December-like. This is the last few days of fall. This Thursday is the beginning of winter, officially the first day of winter and the shortest day of the year and the longest night of the year. And it's going to be 72 degrees. So we'll be talking more about the unusual weather that we're going to have for Christmas coming up a little bit later on. So stay tuned.
Mac, thank you. 4 suspects possibly connected to Romanian crime families are charged in a scheme targeting ATM users at stores in Houston. Authorities say the suspects crossed the border from Canada into Vermont and cut off their ankle monitors before placing credit card schemers at several locations in Houston. Court documents say the crimes are related to high-profile Romanian crime families. 2 of the 4 suspects are currently in jail, but the investigation is still ongoing. So here is your viewer poll tonight. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, have you been a victim of a card skimming scheme? Yes or no? According to our results, it looks like 21% stand at yes and 79% stand at no. Thank you for voting tonight. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. Now, protecting yourself and others against COVID-19 is still a priority. David Gonzalez, director of the Victoria County Health Department, says both the COVID-19 and flu virus are an issue this season. Current vaccines can help prevent the viruses or ease the suffering if you do catch COVID-19 or the flu.
It's going to be a seasonal vaccine that's adapted to those variants that are going around right now. Same with flu vaccine. You know, you look over in the summer months, we see what's going on in the rest of the world, and manufacturers can kind of anticipate what's going to be next in the U.S. and in North America.
Gonzalez says getting vaccinated at least once a year is vital to reducing the likelihood of getting sick. In what has become a tradition, the H-E-B Feast of Sharing plans to feed families this holiday season. Today, crews were busy setting up tables and putting up decorations at the Victoria Community Center. The event takes place tomorrow from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, they identified a child who died after falling ill at a migrant shelter in Chicago. Also ahead, Donald Trump removed from the Colorado ballot. What Colorado Supreme Court has to say straight ahead.
Hi, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs with the Victoria Police Department. Victoria Crime Stoppers is seeking information about the murder of Rudy Lee Conde. On April 30th, 2007, 37-year-old Rudy Conde was found deceased in a home in the 1600 block of East Commercial Street. The investigation revealed that Conde died from blunt force trauma injuries. If you have any information about the murder of Rudy Lee Conde, please call Victoria Crime Stoppers at 361-572-4200. You can also submit a tip by using the P3 Tip app on your Android or Apple device, or by visiting our website at www.crimestoppersvictoria.com. All tips are anonymous, and if you give information that leads to an arrest or charges being filed, you could earn a cash reward. With the Victoria Police Department, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs.
The family of a child who died after becoming sick at a migrant shelter in Chicago has released the identity of the little boy. 5-year-old Jean Carlos Martinez lived at the shelter in Chicago when he was rushed by an ambulance to the hospital. He later died, but an autopsy results are pending further notice. Since the child's death on Sunday, at least 5 other people, including 4 children, have also been hospitalized. The death of Martinez remains under investigation. Colorado Supreme Court removed Donald Trump from the state's 2024 ballot. The court said Tuesday the former president is not an eligible candidate because of the 14th Amendment. It contains vague language that forbids officials who take an oath to support the Constitution from future office if they engage in insurrection. The amendment was ratified following the Civil War and has only been applied twice since 1919. Colorado's ban will be placed on hold pending appeal until January 4th. Trump's campaign vowed to appeal the decision. If the U.S. Supreme Court decides to hear it, the matter could be decided for the entire nation. Changes to your body and brain are normal as you age, but most people don't realize that keeping your brain healthy is as equally as important as keeping your body healthy.
Brain health is important for everyone during all ages and stages of life. The World Health Organization warns that neurological disorders are a leading cause of disability worldwide. That includes dementia, stroke, and migraine. In 2019, over 500,000 people died from neurological disorders in the United States alone. Doctors say there are a few key things to keep in mind when trying to reduce your risk of developing poor brain health as you age. Getting enough sleep, doing routine exercise, and eating whole, unprocessed foods and balanced meals are among the few, as well as engaging in social activities that make you feel more connected to other people or your community. If you are worried about your brain or mental health, it's important to talk to your doctor about what you're feeling or experiencing. And don't forget, boosting your brain health is always a good idea. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
Google will pay $700 million and overhaul its App Store to allow for greater competition in an antitrust settlement with states and consumers. The tech giant agreed to the deal in September. The settlement includes compensation for consumers that were looped into a payment processing system that drove up prices for transactions and Play Store apps. Eligible consumers will get at least $2 and could get additional payments based on their Play Store spending between August 2016 and September of 2023. New data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows the number of Texans living in poverty slightly declined. You can read the full Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're looking at 59 degrees right about now. We have a pretty good looking day, right? We got up to 72 degrees today. It's not exactly December weather. Can't even wear a sweater in this stuff. But we're going to stay there above normal all the way through Christmas Day. And we'll be talking about the rain expected between now and then. All that coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, good evening, everybody. As I mentioned, we were at 72 degrees this afternoon, and everybody was at about 72 all over the Crossroads, except for Bay City. They came in at 69, but the winds were coming out of the southeast, and they still are, and that is one of the reasons why we're piling up the moisture, getting ready for this rain that should be arriving very soon. Tonight, winds are running basically 5 to 10 miles an hour, no major problems. Tomorrow, they'll be a little bit stronger, and for the next couple of days, well, all the cloud cover is going to be building up on top of us. So you've got a south wind at the surface, and you've got a southwest wind coming in from the top. That's why we're beginning to stack up the moisture over us, and that's why all we need now is something to lift it up into the higher atmosphere to make it into some rain showers. That is the job of that low. Remember, low pressure means that the air rises vertically, okay? High pressure means that the air sinks vertically. So rising air into the cooler atmosphere, well, it condenses and you get that rain activity. So we're going to be watching that. Now we have a few little light showers out in far west Texas. That's El Paso right about there. And then also out over Arizona. But obviously the main event still on the west coast. They're looking at 50-mile-an-hour winds out of that center when it comes ashore somewhere in San Francisco. And because of the fetch of the wind going this way, from San Diego all the way to Santa Barbara, they're under flood warnings because they're going to get 1 to 2 inches of rain, and for them, that's like a lot. Well, what about us? Well, here's Future Tracker. We're going to go all the way as far as we can. There's Wednesday. There's that light rain, basically, ahead of it. But the main event is not here until about Saturday. That is when we start looking at the front actually making it through the area. Overnight lows down into the 50s and a few 60s along the immediate coastline, 56 for us in the city. Tomorrow we're looking for another fairly mild day. Temperatures getting up to about 70 to 71 degrees. And yeah, that's what we're doing for the last week, for the first week of winter. All right. 63 in the morning, 71 the high in Port Lavaca with mostly cloudy skies and just a little bit of sunshine. 56 and 72 the high in Cuero with quite a bit of cloud cover as well. So here's what I'm saying. Tomorrow is the last day of fall, okay? On Thursday is the winter solstice. That means it's the shortest day of the year or the longest night, either way. And that is the beginning of winter here. And it's going to be 72 degrees. So then we start getting damp for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then the front doesn't make it through until Monday, which is Christmas Day. And then we're just a little bit cooler on the other side of it. So it's not a huge cold front, but it, in terms of temperature, but it will lift up all this humidity and give us a little bit of dreariness. Just keep the umbrella handy, wear a light windbreaker. And the good news, if you're driving around Texas, you don't have any ice and snow to deal with for Christmas driving and going to go see grandma or whatever. That's your 7-day forecast, folks. We want to remind you that we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Zach Brown with sports.
Well, we have some district basketball and we have some hoops for good calls. I'll have all of that coming up in sports. The Victoria East girls kicked off their district play this evening at home against Gregory Portland, and they opened district play with a big win over Gregory Portland. Final score in that one, 58-38. The girls were led by Avery Valentine, who had 15 points on the night. Cameron Jackson also had double digits with 11 points. Nevia Sanchez and KK Cleveland each had 9 in the win. 1-0 in district play. The Victoria West Warriors boys also scored 58 points tonight, but it was in a loss to Carroll, who scored 68. They were led by Ben Wood, who had 15 points on the evening. They are riding a small 2-game losing streak, but they will look to right that ship on the 27th when they get Brenham. The Shiner Lady Comanches had a district showdown with the Weimar Wildcats, and they extend that winning streak to 7 games. They are now 3-0 in district play. They will get the Hallettsville Sacred Heart Indians on January 2nd. Their record on the young season now an excellent 13-3. The Cuero boys took down Luling today. High-scoring matchup down at the Roost, 77-65. The win is the Gobblers' 5th consecutive victory, but this is a non-district game. They have yet to have one. That will come on the 29th against Fox Tech. The Edna Cowboys bounced back nicely following their loss yesterday to Aransas Pass. They took on Palacios today, got the 74-50 victory. This was a district matchup. So while Edna is 3-4 on the year, they are winning where it matters most. Palacios still searching for that first district win on the year. Yoakum also had a game today, but it won't go down in the standings. This game was for a great cause between the current guys and the old school players. Every penny raised tonight will help the community with gift cards to grocery stores and help them with gifts. Good job by Bulldogs Athletics helping out on the holiday season. They are big on community service, and they say a big reason why is so that they can learn to be givers and not takers. And also on the Yoakum campus, the girls had some action on the soccer pitch today. They scrimmaged off against the Gonzales Apaches. The final score, 2-0 in favor of Gonzales. It is a holiday break for schools, and Yoakum without a lot of star power today. Always good to get some extra work in, however. Last night, the Houston Rockets hit the road to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers. The Rockets trailing late in this one, but Alperen Şengün, with only 36 seconds remaining, nails the free throw to tie it up at 122 apiece. He also had a shot to win the game at the horn. No good. So to overtime we go, where the Cleveland Cavs would prove to be just a bit too much. They take down the Rockets 135-130. And the Cuero girls also won by almost 50 points, but a big story out of Cuero, Audrey Kremling, who is a Gobbler softball star, has announced via Twitter she has committed to Seoul, Ross State, and also some reports have it that C.J. Stroud might be out. Could be another Case Keenum week against Cleveland for the Texans. Scary stuff. That's it for your sports. Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Zach. We're going to be back in a moment. Stay with us. We'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, one man in Michigan is raising awareness for the homeless by living in a red kettle. A winter storm has made its way through northeast Ohio. Snow blew through it overnight and early morning, leading into this morning's commute. Temperatures dropped into the 20s in some areas. The highest snowfall totals, 6 to 11 inches, are predicted for the higher elevations east and southeast of Cleveland. Experts say that means all untreated wet surfaces will freeze, making traveling difficult. The National Weather Service issued a winter storm warning, which will be in effect for some areas until 10 a.m. Now, law enforcement in Minnesota are reminding people to be cautious on the ice. This is after 35 people had to be rescued on Sunday from a chunk of ice on a lake. Even with the right precautions like checking thickness and bringing life-saving equipment, incidents like Sunday's breakoff can still happen. The DNR says there's no amount of ice that's ever considered fully safe, but 4 inches is the general recommendation to avoid falling right through that ice.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was...
Yeah. Well, ice fishing is real popular this time of year, although it's not hard enough to get out there. So, but that's not going to happen here.
No, we're safe from that,
we're okay.
for sure.
See, that's why another one of the 87 reasons why we live here, because we don't have to dig out of the snow or worry about falling into the ice. We're looking at mild weather, damp weather, and shall we say, kind of droopy weather, because it's going to be raining on and off, especially Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And of course, that is Christmas weekend. The front actually passes through on Christmas Day, and it's a little cooler on the other side. But we're going to be actually living through one of the warmest Christmases we've had in quite some time.
All righty, thank you, Mac. Now, an officer for the Salvation Army in Michigan is spending a week outdoors in a giant red kettle. Lieutenant Greg Bach plans to camp inside a giant Salvation Army kettle for the next week to raise awareness for those experiencing homelessness. He will live in the kettle until Christmas Eve or until $200,000 are raised for the Salvation Army's Christmas campaign.
There are a lot of people out there that this doesn't even begin to touch what they're facing. So this is vitally important to me, and I hope that when people see this red kettle and they get to crawl through it and get on top and see what's inside of it and experience it, I hope they then internalize just how important the money that goes into the regular red kettles really are.
The lieutenant says they are still about $130,000 away from their goal, but something tells me he's going to make it. I just feel like he will.
That's very good. I mean, he's risking himself out there in the winter
in
cold.
The cold and
right.
pretty icy.
Think of others who are out there because they have to, forced to.
Now, I know that this situation isn't exactly the same, but Ezekiel Elliott, when he would score a touchdown for the Cowboys, sometimes he would jump into that red kettle, which that kettle's a lot taller than you think. I saw it when I was covering the Tidehaven State game last week. Okay. But when he jumped into it, I think a lot of people poured in donations, kind of in honor of Zeke. So obviously Zeke wasn't living in it, but
it's still a good cause, Salvation Army.
Yeah, good cause, raise awareness and a lot of money. And yeah.
Maybe we should throw you in the kettle.
I don't know if I've got that kind of value. I don't think
people will put money in there.
How much money do you think you'd raise?
At least a cool $10.
Yeah.
A cool $10.
Now I throw Don Brubaker in there.
Throw
Don Brubaker in there. At least $1,000.
He's the man. He's the man.
The man of the show. That's right. All righty. Thank you, Mac, and thank you, Zach, and thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10. Don't forget, join Carolina Astrain and meteorologist Parker Cox for 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everyone.